Greetings. This is Scholar Saunders seeing what's current. Now we are in a different era. We're in a different world. Um, they're having states of emergency for entire states like New Jersey, for boroughs like New York City. Um, why? Why is all this happening? Well, some would argue that's because of global warming. They would say that it's man-made, human responsible for all these weather events. It's because of burning of fossil fuels and different things like that. But I just wonder, is it really just you and I? Is it really a big thing with fossil fuels? Because they have powered our lives for close to 3 centuries. They have really been the crux. They have been the cornerstone of everything we do, from the clothes we wear to the cars we drive. Global warming is, a, a terrible kind of idea against fossil fuels. Fossil fuels mean everything to us. They're almost literally the lifeblood. Salute to Bumba. He says it's the end times. Lordy Jesus. Make sure you donate, sir. Yeah, so it's very difficult to say to the, let me see, hemp lord, salute. Make sure you make sure you donate. Richard Brano, hey Sky bro, how you been? I've been good. Make sure you hit that donate button, hit that like button, and make sure you share and comment. Continue to comment. Appreciate it. I'm glad to see you guys in here. It's good to see you in here. Appreciate it. Hemp Lord says planetary alignment with Neptune. Okay. That he's getting astronomical on us. But salute to you, Richard Prano. That's one of Rick James' friends. He's a great guy, from what I understand on my show. He doesn't troll. He doesn't try to derail the show. He tries to be an attentive listener. He is a pimp. Once a pimp, always a pimp. He said he was pimping back in the 80s, but I say he's still a pimp. He may have changed his life over. He might be a family man now, but the pimp in him still has to be within. All right, so but getting back to the story, fossil fuels are great. I mean, that's an understatement. Fossil fuels are excellent. Fossil fuels are awesome. They're just great beyond measure. And they power our lives. Everything you can think of, everything from concrete to the things that are comprised of fossil fuels, oil, natural gas, coal, things like that. They're just great. Oh, I'm just the kid. Okay, excuse me. I'm sorry. Yeah, you got me. I got it confused. See, that's why Rick James has a wrench. He's brought most people to this channel. Richard Prano says, haha, you're talking about Michael Nolan, which is a fact. He's the pimp. I'm just the kid. Cigar knows kid pimps. Okay, no, I don't know. I that's my fault. I take that back. Retract that statement. That Richard Prano is a pimp. He's not the pimp. I'm thinking about Michael Nolan. Michael Nolan is the pimp. So get him in here. Get him in here as well. And it's ER. Rock with me, Scott. SKYLER. I know it's a slip up. My own family slips up and says SKYLAR all the time, so I can understand. It's not even like a thing. It's not even like, is it SKYLER? It's SKYLAR. It's just like it's entrenched in the mental faculty. But anyway, so all these flash floods are happening, and they're blaming it on global warming. And what is global warming blamed on? Blame global warming on fossil fuels, burning of fossil fuels. Oh my God, it's just this tremendous, terrible, horrible thing. And we family, yeah. Well, show me your family by donating. I'd appreciate it. But it just is extraordinary. The amount of people that would say, "Oh yeah, global warming is caused by fossil fuels." To an extent, that may be true, but you don't demonize fossil fuels. You don't say that they're horrible, stinky, nasty, goopy, gucky, nasty. Ugh. You don't do that. You don't say they're horrible. Sources of fuel. You say you look back in awe and wonder at how much civilization depends on these wonderful fuels. So I'm going to go to a video about they're not going to be talking about fossil fuels. What they're going to be talking about is the what's it called? They're going to be talking about the various flooding across New York and New Jersey.
Fox 5 Weather Alert is first at 5.
And taking a look outside at the city skyline, flash flood warnings are in effect for all 5 boroughs and parts of Long Island right now. Governor Hochul declaring a state of emergency for our entire viewing area. The mayor declaring a state of emergency for the city. And at this hour, the entire state of New Jersey is also under a state of emergency.
Take a look at this video. Just in, floodwaters shutting down the Clearview Expressway in both directions at Northern Boulevard. Citizen app showing cars and trucks stranded in those deep waters there, and a long line of vehicles just trying to take the exit to higher ground.
And in Bayside, Queens, heavy rain slowing traffic on the Cross Island Parkway. The flooding a major concern, even with more rain falling throughout the night.
We've got Fox 5 team coverage tonight as we monitor the situation outside minute by minute.
We begin with meteorologist Audrey Puente tracking the storms on the radar tonight. What's the latest, Audrey?
Well, Natasha and Bianca, flooding conditions still persist across the tri-state area. We've been under the risk for a flash flood risk from New York City all the way down towards New Jersey. And that's exactly where the axis of rain has set up over the last few hours. So flash flooding is occurring in the areas shaded here in green. This is where we have warnings in effect. That means flash flooding is occurring at the moment. And we do have a lot of wet roadways out there that are underwater in many parts of the region here. We're tracking this line of storms that has been working its way from west to east here. Earlier, we had a tornado warning in and around Plainfield, New Jersey, with this one cell that has now moved eastward here into Staten Island and southern portions of Brooklyn. But you can see it's still pretty intense as it makes its way across New York City and Long Island. But we're going to go down to the Jersey Shore first, where there's a really nasty cell that's been over Tom's River here. It hasn't made much movement, and now it seems to have diminished in intensity, but it's still producing a significant amount of rainfall and lightning across this part of the Jersey Shore. Off to the northern part of the shore we go here, just north of Atlantic Highlands. We see a couple of cells here, also producing some downpours, just clipping portions of Staten Island, too. Out across Long Island, this is where the brunt of it is happening right now. We have very wet roadways all across the Long Island area, from Nassau all the way through Suffolk County, especially along the North Shore here. We have one nasty cell that's encompassing much of the North Shore, just north of Sayville here, owing over towards the Sound. And we have lots of cloud-to-ground lightning here. So if you don't need to be outdoors, don't get on the roadways and definitely stay indoors for the next couple of hours or so. The Hudson Valley has fared the best out of all of us here. Basically, it's been light rain on and off for you, with just a couple of downpours. We're not seeing any strong storm cells here, but there is a line kind of forming just north of Monticello that will be working eastward. So you'll probably get a couple of steady rain showers as we go through areas like Walden, crossing the river over towards Dutchess County, as well as Ulster County, too. So this line that we're watching to the south here, this is where the most severe weather is happening. And this extends all the way down towards Philadelphia, where we've had reports in and around the city there of 3 to 5 inches of rainfall in a very short amount of time. And that's pretty dangerous for flooding. The lighter rainfall amounts are being found off to the north here, and we see a little bit of a lull in the action. However, we're still under the threat of more showers and the possibility of downpours and storms as we go into the next couple of hours here. So we're continuing the flood watch for the entire tri-state area, and this is actually until tomorrow morning. And a severe thunderstorm watch continues until 8 o'clock for the county shaded in pink here, and that does include New York City and most of New Jersey. There's also an air quality alert for the entire state of Connecticut because of all the heat and humidity that was building in all throughout the day. And the shower threat will taper off, or at least the storm threat will taper off tonight, but we're going to still leave in the chance for a few light rain showers right until tomorrow morning, and then things get much better from there. But it's really wreaking havoc on some of the roadways, actually a lot of the roadways in transit. For that, we're going to head over to Inez Rosales to see how the traffic is doing around the tri-state area.
Hey there, Audrey. And because of this weather, actually, alternate side has been suspended tomorrow, so you don't have to worry about moving your car. And it is a mess. Just take a look at the map. A lot of red, a lot of black. That's the roads that are closed right now. Here's a look at the LA by the Cross Island Parkway. Some of that flooding. This is traffic heading westbound, so flooding in the right side of the roadway, causing everyone to go to the left. So it's still dealing with that right now. And then over on the Cross Island, the Clearview Expressway, we'll have more. We showed you some video, but this is what's going on right now. Part of the roadway has been reopened, still trying to clear everything, but most of that flooding taken away. All you see is dirt there. The Cross Island, that was the Clearview. The Cross Island, that remains closed between the Throgs Neck Bridge and Northern Boulevard. Also closed between Union Turnpike and the Grand Central, actually both directions. And this is traffic conditions in the Bronx, completely jammed. We have accident stalls, things going on as usual for the evening commute. But the Cross Bronx, that's a parking lot, both directions traveling around there. And then with the subways, severe delays with the A, D, E, F, and F&M trains. They had problems since this morning because of switching problems, power problems there. So we have the service back, but still service suspended with the B and C trains. They're trying to catch everything up. And then the Q trains, the part of that is suspended. I just saw that because of downed tree. If you're taking New Jersey Transit Gladstone branch, suspended both directions between Bernardsville and Gladstone. LIRR also has service suspended because of the weather over at the Port Washington branch. Back to you guys.
All right, Inez, thank you so much for the update on that. Meanwhile, some dramatic video into
So you get the
newsroom
picture.
this evening of
So you get the picture. You get to understand. Right, by the way, those are beaner bunnies. They're not snow bunnies. Those are like Puente and Mera, and and those are beaner bunnies, not snow bunnies. Okay, let me just clarify that and rot with me. Yeah. So you saw the footage. I'm gonna save that last end for later part of the show, latter part of the show. But yeah, that's the main contention. Oh my God, the sky is literally falling. The sky is literally falling. Oh my God, everything's going to hell. That's the thing though. Somebody's got to complain about something at some point, more than anything. I mean, we have two major wars. We have, famine in Sudan. You have wild political activity in South America. Like the world is already aflame, it's already aflame, and climate change just, makes it hotter. The discussion of climate change makes it hotter. Now, play on words there, it's getting hotter, whatever. But to demonize, to damn fossil fuels is an incorrect step. It's in the wrong. It's a steps. There's steps in the wrong direction. Because you just nobody ever says, oh well. I mean, maybe some will admit, some will say, well, they fossil fuels were very good at one point, and maybe they'd have helped us out, and then that's very few and far between, though. That's very seldom that somebody says that even admits that. But the fossil fuel industry is so hated. They're up there with pharmaceuticals. They're up there with who's hated? Pharmaceuticals, fossil fuel companies. They're just the most hated in the world because they think it's dirty, they think it's nasty, they think it's ugly, they think it's goopy and and black, and people's lungs get destroyed, and there's oil fires and all these different things. It's the whole geopolitical landscape of people trying to wage wars based off of oil, allegedly. I don't think that's been the case at all, because if you look at the Iraq War, which people kind of protested, they didn't like Vietnam War protest Iraq War. It was more like, okay, George Bush is the devil, and Karl Rove and Dick Cheney, they're all evil, and Colin Powell, rock and power to him, by the way. Hold on. Rock and power to Colin Powell. Yeah, it's just disgusting, because They were complaining about that. Very few people complain about Afghanistan. They're like, well, they were in Afghanistan for a little while. We're not going to protest. I mean, there were protests. There's always going to be a little scant, little parts. But Iraq was actually a pretty decent, turnout for protests. People in the streets, trying to ban, everything like that. Then you had, and that stopped. That was like, okay, whatever, But it was mainly about oil. It was mainly about. I mean, even George Bush, one of the worst presidents ever. I mean, we have a streak of terrible presidents, but he said we're addicted to oil. How are we addicted to oil? An addiction is something that's nefarious. That's bad. That's not a good thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we talking floods, the real killer for the black man. Fact, the homeless black men drown and ain't no black killer done do killings like this flood does. Fact, he's Skylar Saunders sees. Salute to Rick James. I mixed up Richard Pirano and Michael Nolan. Michael Nolan's the pimp. I thought Richard Pirano was the pimp. I said, excuse me, pardon me. That was my fault. That was my bad. I had the two gentlemen mixed up. But it's all, I'm trying to, wade through this, another little pun, wade through the flood, the waters, Richard Pirano is my gay lover's offspring. Okay. I had no part in creating him. I hope you're telling the truth. Oh my God. But anyway, so, the Iraq war was like, meh, kind of, we're going to protest in the streets. We're going to make, funny signs and no blood for oil and all these different things. Okay, that's cute, whatever. Then it was like few years later, Occupy Wall Street. And what is Wall Street? Wall Street is money. Money is what? Oil, gas, coal, fossil fuels. They are the main drivers of all the different investment banks and things like that. It's true. Okay, good to go. I'm glad it's true. Good for you. Good for you both. But yeah, so that's it. The blood line is oil and coal and natural gas, the fossil fuels. They power our lives, literally. The light I have on right now is because of power. I'm looking at a screen on my desktop, my Apple iMac is because of oil, because the components that use to make it, the different pieces that go inside of it. Like I said, the clothes I'm wearing, all this, my hat, all of it, fossil fuels, and people actually damn and demonize. You have people all over the world, trying to, downplay or even diminish the role that fossil fuels has played in our lives for the past close to 300 years. And it's just really disgusting. And that's why we have all these floods. The reason why is because, not because of potentially fossil fuels. I'm saying we have all these floods because of the people that argue and around the world, the people that say things around the world. They're the hypocrites, really. They want to live off of fossil fuels, but they don't want to, be proponents of fossil fuels. Rick James says, salute to you, Richie. Invite some of your dark-skinned lady friends to the show. Let's make it a party. Fact. Thank you, Rick James. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's get this thing into a party right now. I see only one person. There could be more than one, but I only see one person in here. I think that's just Rick James. I don't know. Yeah, so we have to really, see, like I said, all the people around the world that are demonizing, it's an irony, demonizing fossil fuels are the main contributors to why there are floods, because they don't want to allow the minds, the brilliant people to continue to use fossil fuels in order to power our lives, literally. You see but anyway, that just is the facts. That's just the reality of it all now. Just to, put it on track, just to see how powerful, evil can be. Evil can be very powerful. That's why you have to be even more mighty than any evil kind of entity. And that's the main reason why there are more floods is because of the people that are trying to say that there are fossil fuels. If we had more wind turbines, we had more solar panels, that would just make it even worse. That would make it even worse because, like I said, they want to demonize and damn the fossil fuels. They want to put up the wind turbines, which are inefficient, solar panels, which are inefficient, on a large scale. I'm talking about on a macro scale. Micro scale, okay, great. You put some on your house. You're saving money on your electric bill. Good for you, great. But I'm talking about on a vast, wide-ranging way of understanding things. It doesn't do much, cows farting and different and belching. That causes a significant amount of climate change as well. So we're going to kill all the cows. It's like you're not going to have it both ways. So continue to represent for the fossil fuels, because that's what it is. That's everything that we are. And here we go again. Climate change, more floods. Well, why do we have climate change? Well, because of fossil fuels. Well, why do we have fossil fuels? Because we've been burning them for 300 years. And it's like, yeah, we have been burning them for 300 years, but they've been helping our lives. The pharmaceutical companies have nothing on the oil, natural gas, and coal companies. They are the most hated. They are the most viciously attacked and unwarranted attacks at that. So it just is a constant reminder that we hold these various companies up as bastions amidst a wasteland. They're just so hated. It's so much envy. It's envy, but it may be even deeper than envy. It could just be, it could or simpler than envy. It's just outright hatred. It's just outright hatred. And that fuels, sorry for the pun, but it fuels even more hatred, because you see these people that say, look at the flooding. That's climate change. Climate change is causing the what happened? What's causing climate change? Man-made. And what's man-made? Fossil fuels. See what happens? That's what I'm talking about. I'll play the rest of the video.
Major flooding on the Clearview Expressway in Queens.
Yeah, unbelievable. Fox 5's Jessica Formoso joins us live from Bayside, where commuters are just struggling to make their way home. That video just surprising to see, Jess.
That's right, Natasha and Bianca. Just as we were coming on the air, finally the Clearview Expressway opened up in both directions. But I have to tell you, I'm going to step out of the way so you can see here that traffic is moving slowly. These drivers were stuck in this traffic for about 2 hours, if not more. And the scene here is nothing compared to what happened at around 3 o'clock. Let's look at this video here from Citizen app. You can see rescue crews on scene, cars, and even this white big truck submerged in water. You can see there a man on top of the roof of his car waiting to be rescued. I was told that gentleman got out of the car, then went back in his car, and that's when firefighters told him absolutely not, get out and get on top of the car, meaning get on the roof, until he was rescued. The expressway was closed down in both directions, and when we got here, I want to show you video. This video is when we arrived on scene, which is about 4:15, 4:30, and And by then, the water had receded. Still, that big white truck was here in the middle of the road waiting to be towed along with another sedan. The issue here that we saw, too, was that there was so much debris clouding, over the drains here, covering the drains, so the water could not get by. We spoke to one man who tells us that this happened so quickly. 5 minutes, he says. He says if you were driving on this road and you said, hey, let me try to get by, you just got stuck. And that's what happened to these drivers. Go ahead and take a listen to what he told me he saw once he arrived here on scene.
Yeah, water was out of control. The tractor trailer was all the way up to the wheels. You couldn't see the wheels. This white BMW was almost submerged. And the water was just all over the place.
And here's video over at Bell Boulevard in Bayside, Queens. So much flooding there. You see the White Castle. This is DOT video. We actually called into White Castle, and the employees told us over the phone that they were their store, their shop was submerged in water, flooding inside that White Castle as well. And now let's take you to the Cross Island and Northern Boulevard, where you see their cars having a hard time getting by. But here, back live to Bayside by the Clearview Expressway. Traffic now moving in both directions. The expressway has reopened, but really, like you said, Natasha, a dramatic scene here. People on the roof of their cars waiting to be rescued, and this all happened in a matter of just 5 minutes. I send it back to you inside.
Yeah, so dramatic. Even that semi-truck submerged. It's pretty wild video. All right, Jess, thank you so much. A similar scene in North Plainfield, New Jersey, where flooding is already an issue. Cars on Route 22 being forced to make their way through rising waters. A few drivers tell Fox 5 they are not taking any chances driving on flooded streets.
So I going to pick it up the customer. I walk from Uber.
Okay, he looks like he's gonna get deported. Anyway. Bumba says Diddy did it. Blame Diddy. Blame him for everything. Okay. Let me see. There's another video I want to show you. I'm gonna see if I can get it. Okay, I'm gonna play it.
Was flooded. These are all cities we know of, and to be honest, we expect to get hit by extreme climate weather. They're either too hot or too dry, or located too close to water.
But what about a place like Vermont? After all, scientists have predicted that this area should be spared from the worst of climate change.
But in 2023, the summer of hell also landed in the Green Mountain State.
And suddenly, it feels like nowhere is safe. As climate change rattles our country, people have been looking towards climate havens, places with geography that makes them more resilient to the worst effects of the changing climate. Vermont has consistently appeared on that list. But this summer, that perception was shattered for a lot of Vermonters.
Where we're standing right now, kind of epicenter of flooding activities in Montpelier.
In only 48 hours, parts of central Vermont received a shocking 9 inches of rain, causing rivers to overflow and inundating some areas with well over 3 feet of water.
This was an incredibly powerful event. Water was rushing through the streets. It washed out roads and ripped through businesses and residents and state buildings. And here in Montpelier, inundated the downtown.
But as anyone who's endured a flood can tell you, raging water is just the beginning. Pungent, contaminated water stagnated in downtown Montpelier for days. 2 weeks later, the residents are just beginning to understand the scope of the damage.
Here we go. We got it. So watch your step. So you see how you already have mold? This is all already mold. And this is what happens when porous material gets saturated with water with bacteria in it. All of these contents were under about 10 feet of water, all the way up. All this has got to be thrown out.
It's amazing to me what decades of a town look like when you put it all out on the street.
In the end, residents across the state reported more than 4,000 homes and 800 businesses were damaged. Around 275 of those buildings were in downtown Montpelier.
Here we are at Montpelier City Hall. The downstairs was completely flooded. Everywhere we look is destruction from the flood.
At the library, we see 7.5 feet of water, and the books just got completely wrecked in the basement. And also our electrical, our phones, our internet, all those expensive components were all destroyed.
The store was kind of my dream. The daunting part about reopening is finding the capital and the cash to reopen. The only options for us right now is a small business loan. And a lot of the loan products that they're offering, we're still trying to pay off from when we had to take them out through COVID.
It's trauma, what we experienced as a community. We all know each other, we're all friends, and it's just really overwhelming because everyone was just, their livelihoods, their hopes, their dreams are just sort of destroyed. Yeah.
All the residents and the businesses impacted, are ultimately going to have a choice to make as to whether or not to come back.
But for many business owners, that decision to rebuild is not an easy one. Montpelier was built on a floodplain. It will flood again. The question is, how often?
Last time we had a major flooding disaster like this, they referred to it, of course, as the 100-year storm. And that was only 12 years ago.
So I think it's time we stop calling them 100-year storms because this is the new normal in a changing climate.
Tom Rogers is a member of the Stowe Mountain Rescue Team. They were active in the area during the flooding.
It's my job to respond to incidences like the flooding we had a couple weeks ago where people need to be rescued when their lives and safety are in danger. When I first joined the team 11 years ago, we would average about 30, maybe 40 calls a year. 35 was about average. And now we're usually much more around 60. Part of that is because we are getting disasters more frequently and more intensely. And I just see that being our future more and more. It's going to be very difficult for all of us to do everything we can to keep people safe.
So what exactly is going on? How did this safe haven become a disaster zone?
John Erickson is a professor of sustainability science and policy. He says a big factor is Vermont's geography and where its small towns were founded.
So in a place like Vermont, the easiest place to build was along the river. That's where the land was flat. That's where the land was fertile. Historically, our rivers meandered. They moved from one edge of the river valley to another. And when they're allowed to do that, they can take their water and put them into floodplains. Floodplains are, in essence, like a big sponge. They fill with water, and then that water slowly seeps underground. As we've built our cities, we straightened our rivers, we channelized our rivers, and we urbanized our rivers. We disconnected them from their floodplains. When a big storm event comes along, those straight shots become fire hoses. So when it goes over its bank, it doesn't hit floodplains, it hits pavement. And the water's got no place to go.
But artificially shaped rivers are only one factor causing Vermont to flood. The other cause? Climate change.
So it's July 2023. We are living right now through the hottest month in recorded history. Warmer air temperatures can hold more water. More water means more rain. That intense rainfall needs some place to go. If you take Montpelier, they got as much rain in a 48-hour period than they usually do in the entire month of July. Our systems here in Vermont weren't designed for rainstorms of 9, 10, 11 inches in a 48-hour period.
Of course, Montpelier isn't unique.
Most of the towns and cities we've built around the world aren't designed to withstand these new patterns of extreme weather events.
No matter who you are, no matter where you live, you can't hide from climate change. We built the entire human civilization during a very stable climate period. As we've cranked up the probabilities of bigger, more extreme weather events to occur, our human systems weren't designed for that.
So what are the solutions? If there aren't any safe havens, can we at least make our existing cities safer?
We know that Montpelier is vulnerable to flooding because we're built on the rivers. I don't think it's realistic to expect that we're going to take downtown Montpelier and move it somewhere else. However, there are things we can do to try to make our buildings and our downtown more resilient.
Places like Montpelier know that devastating floods will happen again, and more often.
If this happens a couple more times in a short period of time, there will be no Montpelier.
So this community has come together for an urgent discussion on how to rebuild.
We're in an extremely unique position here in Montpelier right now. We can make a big difference around the world if we can come up with an idea which clearly moves people's context of flooding and national emergencies forward.
And lots of ideas are on the table. Building roads that can handle flooding, moving utilities out of basements, and relocating key infrastructure away from flood-prone areas. But one proposal wouldn't happen in the city at all. It would happen upstream, allowing the waterways access to their historic floodplains.
So the floodplain is doing its job. It's taking all that extra water and storing it to when the river can handle it again. This is economic protection. This is protecting the downstream community from this onslaught of water.
But those changes, they'll take years to accomplish. What about the people being affected right now?
The front entrance here, it's, the flood line is about here somewhere.
Greg Kettle lives in a mobile home community just outside of Montpelier. He lost almost everything.
If this was located somewhere a little higher, I would stay here forever probably. After about 20 years, you get attached to a place, so it's tough.
Whenever I'm talking about mobile home park communities, I always like to emphasize how important they are to have as part of our affordable housing landscape. Unfortunately, while 4% of single-family homes in Vermont are in flood-prone areas, with mobile homes and parks, it's 12%.
This is Kelly Hamshaw, a researcher studying mobile home park communities and their resilience to climate change. Currently, Kelly and her team are helping people who lost their mobile homes figure out what to do next. Before the flood, they'd also been working with residents to assess the risk associated with living in a floodplain.
I feel like no home should be here. I feel like this is a good time to raise these houses up and do some prevention around here.
Unfortunately, moving a mobile home can be way too expensive. So for many people, their homes are mobile in name only.
When we're thinking about who is living in flood-prone areas, we're thinking about folks who may not have the economic means to be able to build back their lives.
I hope there aren't too many people that fit into that category where they would have to move back in here. That would be horrible for them because chances are they'll go through this again in another 10, 15 years.
One of the things that I've been thinking a lot as we're talking with folks about where they're going to live next, I come back to we need more affordable housing in areas that are out of harm's way.
Vermont's experience reminds us that there's no such thing as a perfect safe haven from the effects of climate change. We're gonna have to adapt to this new climate reality, protect our most vulnerable, and make sure we're working to solve the bigger issue.
All right, I'm gonna stop it right there. Yeah, so I meant to say this though. Pharmaceutical companies, big oil or big coal, big gas, and also just business in itself. Bankers and investment bankers and executives, just just business itself is hated. You will see on TV and movies. Look at Superman. Superman. Who is the villain? Lex Luthor. He's a developer. He's a creator. He's a builder. He's a mover and a shaker. He's an evil person. He's a villain. They never. When do you have a billionaire or a businessman? He has to have some dark history. His parents have to be killed. Who am I talking about? Batman, of course. And also for the Marvel world, it has to be Iron Man. He has to be, sarcastic and witty and stuff like that, just to soften him up a little bit, not to have him be just straight businessman. But that's what it is. I found another video. I'm trying to share this one. Hold on. All right, here we go.
Decades that our climate is changing and the planet's temperature is rising. This is partly because of the greenhouse effect and a consequence of our emissions. And the largest contributors in the US are emissions from things we rely on every day. But greenhouse gases also keep our planet inhabitable. So how does the greenhouse effect both help and harm our planet? And how did it get so off balance? The temperature on Earth is regulated because of our atmosphere, the jacket of gases that surrounds the planet like a greenhouse. It allows some of the sun's energy to pass through to the Earth's surface, where it's absorbed and heats the planet. When that energy radiates back up into the atmosphere, 90% is absorbed by gases and continues warming the Earth. This is the greenhouse effect, and it's what allows life to thrive here. But the increase in greenhouse gas emissions from human activity has led to extra trapped heat and higher global temperatures, and what we now call global warming. So the same effect that keeps our planet alive is also what's damaging it. If we look back, for most of the last 800,000 years, the concentration of greenhouse gases in Earth's atmosphere was about 200 to 280 parts per million. But over the last century, we've been emitting more and more. In 2019, humans were pumping out 36.7 billion tons of CO2. That's about 50% more than in the year 2000. And air temperatures have gone up about 2 degrees in the last century, which might not seem like much, but a few degrees makes a huge difference in our climate. So how exactly do humans contribute to this? We all leave a carbon footprint by participating in systems that release carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. That means things like using gas-powered vehicles, raising livestock, agriculture and deforestation, as well as waste and recycling pollution, all contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. And the burning of coal, oil, and natural gas to produce electricity and heat accounts for 1/4 of worldwide human-driven emissions. In the past, economic progress has come with an environmental cost, which means if the world continues with business as usual, emissions will keep rising. So what can we do? To actually see change, greenhouse gas emissions need to be reduced on a global scale. If things don't change, scientists predict that sea levels will rise another 1 to 8 feet by the year 2100. And corn and wheat production could be affected as soon as 2030. No one person and no one country can solve this alone. But by prioritizing climate policies and by finding renewable energy alternatives and ways to remove greenhouse gases already in the atmosphere, we can make a difference in stopping climate change.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel.
Okay, so as you just saw in that video, there really were no solutions. And the solutions that everybody says are completely inefficient and irrational. Wind turbines, lowering your CO2 emissions and your carbon footprint by, reusing diapers, and wash them in water, and it's ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous. it gets to a point where you have to say, like, people like Greta. I think it's Thunberg. Greta Thunberg. She is a staunch advocate. I think she's a Nobel Peace Prize winner. I think she is. If I'm not mistaken, let me see. Is Greta a Nobel? Is Greta a Nobelist? I'm looking it up now. No, Greta is not won the Nobel Prize laureate. While she has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize several times, she has not won it. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because the Nobel Prizes are mixed. Very, very weird, very strange how you can get picked and not picked, and you won't know for years. But anyway, I guess they found out some way that she was nominated. But anyway, she's on the front line. She's got the voice. She's got, everybody. They kicked her out of England, I think, or something like that. Good on them. She has, no right. She's completely delusional. She's Delulu. That's her generation. She's totally Delulu. Most people are, and I think people are either ignorant, and that's not to say that they're, they just don't know. Literally, you don't know. Ignorant is almost like an innocence kind of position. You just really don't know. Some people do know and act like they don't know. Some people act like they know and are able to engage in the problem and actually try to seek ways of solving it. So that's the differences between that. So that's the reason why there are so many floods. The reason why there are so many floods is I'm blaming it on the people that are blaming it on climate, on not just climate change, on the big oil, big coal, big gas. I'm blaming it on those people because they're taking away from the power and the might and the majesty of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are our friend. They are not to be discounted, discredited, or completely taken down. They should be elevated. They should be completely venerated. They should be completely, upheld within the scope of human history, all of human history. That is our, saving grace, that we have so many things like that. And then I mean, if you wanted to do it, that's why there's space. There's asteroids, there's planet, at least one planet. Mars is it's a big shot. The moon is a moonshot, but we could do it. It's not impossible. We can create an entire civilization on the moon, on Mars. I mean, if we it really came down to that, it would take decades, of course. And if we wanted to really try to make it like Earth, we would have to terraform it, which means, to make it like an Earth-like inhabitable atmosphere. But like I said, it's tricky, very, 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 very tricky, because you're having a place like the moon, which has no atmosphere. And so you would constantly be bombarded by the solar rays, and there'll be, multiple, cases of cancers and different things like that. So that would be a problem. Mars's atmosphere is very thin. It's very, it hardly has. It may not have. I'm going into astronomy now, so I could get in trouble. But it's very harsh, terrain. But we could have some kind of sense of civilization there. But until those days, that's way beyond. That's way, way, way out there in, science fiction land. I mean, you have movies like The Martian, and he's got another movie coming out soon or something like that. But yeah, that is the main thing to understand, is the fact that we have people who are, so headstrong. So fossil fuels are evil. Fossil fuels are evil. Fossil fuels are evil. and they don't ever understand the intricacies and the just the greatness, the excellence of fossil fuels. And they're hypocrite. You cannot in life, in this life, in civilization, so in any way, completely go through your day without interacting with fossil fuels. People can be cute, oh, recycle, reduce, reuse, and that even creates pollution. Recyclables and places like landfills and stuff like that, they actually create pollution. So that's the sad part. I'm gonna try to see if I can find another video. Let me see. Not a lot in the way. This is a lot of copyrighted stuff. Thought I was gonna find another one, but I can go off of that. So I just am so tired. I'm worn out from people blaming fossil fuels when they're just so wonderful. I mean, Alex Epstein, I think I said it right. I think it's Epstein. Alex Epstein is he's a writer. He's a businessman. He's a head of his own company. Center for Industrial Progress, I think is what his title is properly. He is one of the only staunch, defenders of fossil fuels. I've read his books. Fossil Future, and I can't remember the first one, but I read it too. But they're just extraordinary. They're really great books. I recommend at least Fossil Future. Let me look it up, because he's that important. Alex Epstein books. The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels and Fossil Future. Read those books. He's an author. He's a businessman. Just read those books, because he's like one of maybe a million, maybe 10 million, maybe even a billion. I don't know how many people are really staunch for, even like I said, executives of these companies are like, I know I'm an oil exec. I gotta tone down things. I gotta keep it within the frame of what I'm doing. I can't be too aggressive or loud or anything like that, because they'll come after us and everything with more fines, more taxes, more to cripple up my business. And Alex Epstein is saying, like, no, you don't. You should applaud to yourself. You should be throwing congratulatory parties for yourself, because you have managed to make life better for billions of people. Billions with a B. There's 8 billion people on this rock, last time I count. At least 7 billion of them are really, maybe even 7.5 billion probably are benefiting from fossil fuels. I would say even like in places like Africa, the some of the richest, the wealthiest people in Africa, make cement. What does that cost? That means that you're burning fossil fuels to make cement. Multi-billionaires that make cement are using fossil fuels. People that are in very low income areas, I mean dirt poor, like pennies a day kind of poor, they're getting help from foundations, private foundations like Microsoft's Bill and Melinda Gates. I don't know if it's still Bill and Melinda Gates. It might just be Gates Foundation or something like that. She changed her name back to French. I don't even want to get into it, but they use Microsoft, software. They to process the goods that are given to them, the water, the milk, the formulas, the housing, all of that comes from the software programs. And what are the software programs run on? Electricity. Where does electricity come from? Fossil fuels burning. Fossil fuels burn the electricity that create positions and amenities for these poor people. You can't get around it. I mean, it's a good thing. It's great. That is wonderful. So it's a sad shame. It's really sad, and that's the main thing we go on, and that's why they show on the news. They're not going to be opinionated. They're not for the op-ed. Mostly for they're not going to say, well, we have to state this is because of climate change. This is because of global warming. This is because of the human factor, because of us burning fossil fuels, and we shouldn't be doing that. It's a big no-no, but we're doing it anyway. I don't know, but that's just the sad part about all of this. That's just the sad part. The good part, I want to try to end on a good note. Let me see if I can end on a good note. I want to say that we're going to get to a point where we're going to understand it better by and by. We're going to understand the fact that all these companies are going to either find a revolutionary way, like nuclear. Did I say it right? Nuclear? Am I sounding like George W. Bush? Nuclear? Is it nuclear or nuclear? Nuclear? I think it's nuclear. All right. Nuclear is great. It's not fossil fuels, but it's wonderful. It's like another step in the right direction of creating more power for people, and that's excellent. So don't knock nuclear either. Don't knock their nuclear power. Uphold fossil fuels. Continue to use fossil fuels. I'm glad that there haven't been yet any sanctions against using them completely. Or that would be complete travesty and ugliness and hatred of completely. I think we can find, I like, if you go into a specific novel by Ayn Rand, she has an idea for a specific machine, how it runs on static electricity. I'm not going to give away the plot points, but that could be a possible thing. They're really, scientists that are, trying to figure out a way of using the molecule, the space around a specific generator and using it to affect. I mean, it used to be science fiction, like Ayn Rand spoke about in her book. It's mystery, it's romance, it's action, and it's science fiction. And I mean that's just one of the great things about Atlas Shrugged is the fact that it employs science fiction. But I mean, we there's so many possibilities, and that's the thing with humanity as a whole. We don't ever, just lie down and take it. There's always going to be one person that stands up and fights and is valiant and strong. I think that's where we have to be right now. I think we have to be on that side that says we have to fight for this. We have to fight for this. Because that's the thing. It's like humanity is crafty. Humanity knows how to get things done the right way. We'll figure out a problem. We'll figure out the solution to a problem, no matter what it is. We'll say, okay, we'll get some engineers and some architects and some builders and creators and writers and journalists and everybody working in tandem to get this problem solved. Get big business involved, get executives, get everybody involved. Big business is good. I mean, that's just an obvious thing to me. You know, it may not be obvious to everyone, but it is to me. So I just really want to just harp on the fact that we have, you know, so many reasons why there are flooding, and the main reason is because of global warming, psychopaths. That's the best I can claim. Who that are literally insane, and I can say that because I have bipolar disorder. But people that are just, you know, crazy and say things like fossil fuels are evil and we need to stop them and ban them and things of that nature. It's like way off left field, not even to be discussed, not even to be, you know, determined, whatever they say, because that's completely just BS. So I just wanted to say, end this on a good note for the week. Fossil fuels all the way. We're going to find a way to stop these floods, fires, and other extreme weather conditions. There's a way. Humanity is very crafty. Humanity is very ingenious. There's ingenuity that is involved with humanity. We've been able to come out of multiple social issues. We can come out of atmospheric issues. Okay, on top, winners. All right. So thank you all for watching. Make sure you share this video. Make sure you check out the other videos that are in this video. And I will see you sometime tomorrow. Or I won't see you sometime. I may not see you tomorrow. I don't think I will see you tomorrow. It's my niece's birthday party. So I'll probably see you on Sunday. So thank you very much. Take care.